A woman stood alone beside the hitching post, carpet bag at her feet, hand frozen mid-wave as the covered wagon disappeared into the pines. Martha Henley watched the dust settle where her daughter's wagon had been. The November wind cut through her shawl, but she didn't move, didn't blink. The trading post crowd miners, trappers. A farmer's wife pretended not to notice. She was 58 years old. She had raised Sarah alone after the mine took her husband, sold their land to pay for finishing school back east, wore the same 2 dresses for 5 years so Sarah could have new ones. And Sarah had just left her here like a broken chair. Ma'am. Hendricks, the trading post owner, shifted his weight. We close at sundown. Martha nodded but didn't stand. Her fingers found the wooden cross in her pocket carved by her husband's hands 20 years ago. She gripped it until the edges bit into her palm. The farmer's wife whispered to her husband, "Shameful. Leaving your own mother?" The husband grunted. "Ain't our concern." They loaded their wagon and left. One by one, the others followed. Martha sat on the bench outside the trading post as the sun sank behind the mountains. The temperature dropped. Frost formed on the porch railing. She had nowhere to go. The realization settled over her like the cold heavy, undeniable. Sarah had married a banker in Kansas City, wrote less and less over the years. The last letter had been stiff, formal. "Mother, I've arranged for you to stay at a boarding house in Frost Creek. It's more suitable for a woman of your age." But there was no boarding house. Just this bench, this bag, this silence. Martha closed her eyes. She had raised that girl alone, loved her fiercely, sacrificed everything. And this was the payment: a cloud of dust and silence. Jesse McCallum pushed through the trading post door, arms loaded with winter supplies, flour, coffee, ammunition. He paused mid-stride when he saw her. The woman still sat on the bench, frost gathering on her shawl. Her bag hadn't moved. Hendricks was locking up, deliberately avoiding looking at her. Jesse knew abandonment when he saw it. He'd watched his own mother sit just like that after his father died, proud spine, empty hands, nowhere to turn. The town had ignored her too. She died that winter, alone in a borrowed room. Jesse set his supplies in the wagon and walked back. The woman didn't look up. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "I got a cabin 15 miles north. Room enough. You're welcome to winter there." Her head lifted. Dark eyes searched his face, wary. "I won't take charity, sir." "Ain't charity." Jesse gestured to his patched coat. "Worn boots." "I need help mending clothes, cooking meals." "You need shelter? Fair trade." She studied him for a long moment. He could see her pride warring with the cold, with the truth that she had no other choice. "Why would you help a stranger?" she asked. Jesse thought of his mother's grave, unmarked because he'd been too young to afford a stone, because someone should have helped my mama, and nobody did. Something shifted in her expression. Not gratitude, but recognition. 2 people who understood loss. She stood slowly, joints stiff from sitting. "My name is Martha Henley." "Jesse McCallum." He extended his hand. Her palm was rough, weathered from work. The handshake was firm, equal. Not savior and victim, partners in survival. Jesse loaded her bag onto the wagon. Through the trading post window, Hendricks watched. Shaking his head, Jesse ignored him. The town would talk. Let them. He helped Martha onto the bench and clicked the reins. The horse pulled forward, and they left Frost Creek behind. Neither spoke for the first mile. Just breath clouds and the creak of wagon wheels on frozen ground. Martha broke the silence somewhere between the trading post and the tree line. "My husband died in a mine collapse 10 years ago." Her voice was steady, practiced. She'd told this story before. "I raised my daughter alone, sold our land to send her to finishing school. She married a banker, moved to Kansas City." Jesse listened without interrupting. She stopped writing. Martha continued. Then last month, a telegram. Said she was coming through Montana. Would collect me. I thought, her voice caught. I thought she wanted me to come live with her. The silence stretched. Jessie let it. She dropped me at that bench like luggage, Martha said finally. Didn't even say goodbye. Jessie's jaw tightened. He'd seen cruelty before, men who beat horses, bosses who cheated workers. But a daughter abandoning her mother. That was a different kind of evil. My wife died in childbirth 5 years ago, he said quietly. Baby too. Boy. Never even drew breath. Martha looked at him, really looked. I've been alone since, Jessie continued. Just surviving, not living. Figured I had nothing left to give anyone. He glanced at her. Reckon I was wrong. The cabin appeared through the trees, small but solid, smoke curling from the chimney. Jessie had left the fire bank that morning. A barn stood nearby. Corral empty except for one milk cow. It ain't much, Jessie said, pulling the wagon to a stop. But it's honest. Martha stared at the cabin. Lamplight glowed in the window, warm, inviting. A home. It's more than I had an hour ago, she said softly. Jessie climbed down and offered his hand. She took it, stepping carefully onto frozen ground. He grabbed her bag and led her to the door. She hesitated at the threshold. Behind her lay the old life, the daughter who didn't want her, the land she'd lost, the loneliness she'd carried for 10 years. Ahead lay uncertainty, but also warmth, safety, a man who understood loss without trying to fix it. Martha stepped inside. The door closed behind her, shutting out the cold. The fire crackled in the hearth. The table was set for one, soon to be two. Jessie set down her bag. You take the bed. I'll sleep in the barn loft. I can't. You can, he said firmly. And you will. We'll figure the rest out tomorrow. Martha's throat tightened. She nodded, not trusting her voice. That night, lying in Jessie's bed, clean sheets, warm quilts, she stared at the ceiling beams and let the tears come. Quiet, aching tears for everything she'd lost. But also, impossibly, tears of relief. She wasn't alone anymore. Morning light found Martha already at the stove. Coffee boiling. Outside, Jessie split firewood, each swing precise and powerful. His breath steamed in the cold air. The first week passed in careful politeness. Martha cooked biscuits, stew, venison Jessie brought from hunting. She mended his shirts, finding them threadbare and patched a dozen times over. She swept the cabin floor, organized shelves, brought order to the chaos of bachelor living. Jessie repaired the roof, reinforced the barn door, taught her to shoot his rifle. In case I'm gone and something comes around, he explained. They spoke little at first. Meals were quiet. Thank you for breakfast. Sleep well. Small courtesies that felt enormous after so much silence. Jessie had moved his bedroll to the barn loft, insisting Martha keep the bed. She protested once, but his jaw set in that stubborn way, and she knew better than to argue. By the second week, the silences grew comfortable. Martha hummed while she worked. Jessie caught himself smiling at nothing. Then the blizzard hit. 3 days of howling wind and snow so thick you couldn't see the barn from the cabin. Jessie moved his bedroll inside. Barn was too cold, too dangerous. He slept by the hearth. Martha didn't argue. The forced proximity broke something open between them. On the second night, firelight casting shadows on the walls, Jessie told her about his wife, how she'd laughed, how she'd wanted 6 children, how he'd found her bleeding and couldn't stop it. I couldn't save her, he said. Voice raw. Couldn't save the baby. What kind of man can't protect his own family? Martha didn't offer empty comfort. She just moved to sit beside him on the floor, close enough that their shoulders touched. The kind who tried, she said. The kind who loved them. That's all any of us can do. On the third day, the storm broke. Martha ventured to the barn to check on the cow and found something in the corner, a cradle. Half finished, covered in dust. Jesse came in behind her, saw what she was looking at. Couldn't finish it, he said quietly. Couldn't burn it neither. Martha ran her fingers over the smooth wood, the careful joints. It's beautiful. It's a ghost. She turned to face him. You loved her deeply. Still do. Jesse's throat worked. But I'm tired of haunting my own house. That night, he moved his bedroll closer to the hearth, closer to the bed, still separate, still respectful. But the distance between them had shrunk. Martha lay awake, listening to him breathe, and felt something dangerous bloom in her chest. Hope. Christmas week arrived with fresh snow and clear skies. Martha decorated the cabin with pine boughs. Jesse rode to town for supplies and returned with peppermint sticks, dried apples, a small sack of sugar luxuries he couldn't afford but bought anyway. They were alone, isolated by snow and miles from town. It felt like its own world, safe, suspended. Martha spent her evenings stitching wool socks by candlelight. Across the table, Jesse carved wood, a small bird taking shape, wings spread wide. On Christmas morning, they exchanged gifts. Jesse gave her the carved bird first. So you remember you're free, he said. You ain't trapped here. You can leave any time. Martha held the little wooden bird, throat tight, and go anywhere. But I hope... He stopped, cleared his throat. I hope you stay. She handed him her gifts, the wool socks, still warm from her hands, and a quilt she'd mended from scraps. You were freezing in that barn, she said. You needed this more than I did. Jesse stared at the gifts like they were gold. Martha, no one's taken care of you, she said softly. Not in a long time. Let me... His eyes met hers, and the space between them felt charged, electric. Then Martha's breath caught a cough, then another. By evening, she was burning with fever. Jesse moved into action like a general. Cold compresses, willow bark tea, broth he made from scratch. He sat beside the bed all night, changing the cloth on her forehead, holding her hand when she thrashed with fever dreams. She woke once in the dark, confused. Jesse, right here, his voice steady and close. Don't leave. Never. She slept. When the fever broke on the third day, she woke to find him asleep in the chair beside the bed, head tilted at an awkward angle, hands still wrapped around hers. Martha watched him in the morning light, this man who'd given her everything, asked for nothing. This man who was breaking open her carefully guarded heart. Jesse, she whispered. He startled awake. You need something? Why are you so kind to me? He was quiet for a long moment. Then maybe God sent you. Martha, maybe you're the answer to a prayer I stopped praying. Her defenses crumbled. I'm not an answer, Jesse. I'm just a woman left on a bench. No. He leaned forward, intense. You're the bravest soul I ever met. You survived when you had every reason to quit. You walked into a stranger's cabin and made it a home. You gave me something to wake up for. What are we doing? She asked, voice trembling. Surviving, he said. Together. That a sin. She didn't answer, didn't know how. But when he stood to make breakfast, she didn't let go of his hand right away. And that, more than words, was answer enough. A week later. Jesse rode to the trading post for supplies. He returned late, face troubled. Town's talking, he said quietly. About us. Martha set down her sewing. What are they saying, Alcon? That I took in a woman. That we're living in sin. That it's a disgrace. The outside world, which had felt so distant, suddenly pressed close. Martha's stomach twisted. I should leave. No. Jesse, I'm ruining your reputation. I don't give a damn about reputation, he said fiercely. But I give a damn about you. And if staying here makes you feel shame, then I don't feel shame. She interrupted. She stopped, couldn't say it. Couldn't name the thing growing between them, because naming it made it real, made it fragile, made it something that could be lost. Jesse crossed the room, stood in front of her. What do you feel? Martha. She looked up at him. Afraid. Of what? That this ends. That you realize I'm just a burden. That. He cupped her face in his rough hands. You ain't a burden. You're the only light I got. Then he kissed her gentle, questioning, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. She kissed him back, pouring 5 years of loneliness into it. 10 years of being unwanted. A lifetime of believing she wasn't enough. When they broke apart, both breathless, Jesse rested his forehead against hers. We'll figure it out, he whispered. Together. Martha nodded, wanting desperately to believe him. But the outside world was coming, and with it, judgment. The letter arrived in late January. Jesse tossed the envelope onto the table. Sarah's handwriting. Martha's hands trembled as she picked it up. She read in silence. Jesse watched her face go pale, then blank. What's it say? Martha set the letter down carefully. She sent money, $50. Says I should find lodging by spring. That this arrangement is, her voice cracked, inappropriate. Jesse's jaw clenched. That girl, don't. Martha stood abruptly. Don't say anything about my daughter. Your daughter threw you away. She's still my daughter. Then why ain't she here? Jesse's voice rose, rare anger breaking through. Why ain't she the one taking care of you? Why is it some stranger she thinks is taking advantage? Maybe. She's right, Martha shouted back. Maybe I am ruining your life. Maybe I should what leave go where? Martha, back to that bench. The words hit like a slap. Martha grabbed her carpet bag from the corner and started shoving clothes into it. What are you doing? What I should have done weeks ago. Tears streamed down her face. I won't be your shame, Jesse. I won't be the town scandal. You deserve better than... You don't get to decide what I deserve. He crossed the room, stopped just short of touching her. I know what I deserve. I deserve to be alone. To spend the rest of my life with ghosts. That's what I earned when I couldn't save my wife. My son, Jesse. But you made me think maybe I get a second chance. Maybe God ain't done with me yet. His voice broke. Don't take that away. Martha stared at him, chest heaving. You don't understand. You don't know what it's like loving someone who don't love you back? The hell I don't. Jesse's eyes were wet. I buried my wife and baby. You think I don't understand loss? You think I don't understand giving everything and getting nothing back? The fight drained out of her. She sank into the chair, bag forgotten. They sat in silence for a long time. The fire crackled. Outside, wind howled. Finally, Martha stood. She walked to the hearth and pulled out the stack of unsent letters she'd written to Sarah over the years, dozens of them, pouring out her heart to a daughter who never wrote back. One by one, she fed them to the flames. Jesse watched, saying nothing. I was writing to a ghost, Martha said softly, just like you were living with one. When the last letter curled into ash. She turned to face him. I'm sorry, she said. I'm so sorry. Jesse opened his arms. She walked into them, and they held each other while the letters burned the past, turning to smoke, rising up the chimney. Gone. That night. Martha slept in the chair. Jesse stayed by the fire. The space between them felt like a chasm, but at least they were still in the same room. Martha was gone when Jesse woke. He sat up, heart hammering. Her bag was missing. The door stood slightly ajar, snow blowing in. Fresh tracks led away from the cabin, already filling with new snow. A blizzard was building. He could see it in the gray-black clouds, feel it in the vicious wind. Jesse grabbed his rifle, rope, and coat. He saddled the horse in record time and rode hard toward the tracks. She'd headed for town. 2 miles out. The tracks vanished in the deepening storm. Jesse pushed forward, scanning desperately. Then he saw her collapsed beside a fallen tree, lips blue, barely conscious. Martha. He leapt from the horse, dropped to his knees beside her. "What the hell were you thinking?" She mumbled something incoherent. Her skin was ice. Jesse stripped off his coat, wrapped it around her, then lifted her onto the horse. She weighed nothing. He could feel her ribs, her fragility. The ride back was a blur of wind and fear. He'd lost one woman he loved. He would not lose another. At the cabin, he carried her inside, kicked the door shut. Her clothes were soaked, frozen. He stripped them off with shaking hands, clinical, desperate, and wrapped her in every quilt he owned. Built the fire into an inferno. She shivered violently, teeth chattering. Fever was setting in, hypothermia. Then fever, the body's last attempt to survive. Jesse pulled a chair beside the bed and took her cold hand in his. "Don't you leave me," he said hoarsely. "Not you too, not like this." She didn't respond. Her breathing was shallow, rapid. Jesse talked to her through the night, told her about the garden they'd plant in spring, tomatoes, beans, squash. Told her about fixing up the cabin, adding a porch. Told her every plan he'd secretly made that included her. And then, when dawn light started filtering through the window and he thought she couldn't hear him anyway, he told her the truth. "I love you, Martha. Ain't got a damn thing to offer but these hands in this cabin, but they're yours if you'll have 'em. I was dead till you showed up. You gave me a reason to fix that cradle, plant that garden, wake up in the morning. Don't take that away. Please don't take that away." Her eyes fluttered open. "Jesse." He nearly collapsed with relief. "Right here, I'm right here." "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." "You're staying." His voice cracked on the question. She nodded weakly. "If you'll still have me?" "If I'll..." Jesse let out a shaky laugh. "Martha, I just told you I love you." "I know." Her eyes filled with tears. "I heard. And I love you too. You stubborn fool." She squeezed his hand. "I love you too." Jesse leaned forward and kissed her forehead, then her cheek, then her lips, gentle, reverent, grateful. "Then we faced them together," he said firmly. "Town, daughter, anyone who's got a problem. Together." Martha nodded. "Together." She slept then, fever breaking, color returning to her face. Jesse stayed beside her, hand wrapped around hers, and let himself believe they'd survive this. They'd survive anything. The town meeting was in late February, at Frost Creek's small church. 50 people packed the pews, ranchers, miners, shop owners, their wives. Jesse and Martha walked in together, every head turned. Preacher Morrison stood at the front, Bible in hand, expression severe. "We gather today to address a matter of moral concern. Mr. McCallum, Mrs. Henley, step forward." They did, side by side. Martha's chin lifted. Jesse's hand found the small of her back, protective, declarative. "It's come to the attention of this community," Morrison continued, "that you two have been living under one roof, unmarried, for near 3 months. This is not only improper, it sets a dangerous example for our young people." A woman in the front row nodded vigorously. A man muttered agreement. "Do you deny these accusations?" Morrison demanded. "No, sir. I don't, Jesse said clearly. And I don't apologize for him neither. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Jesse stepped forward. This woman was left to freeze on a bench. Her own daughter threw her away like trash. I gave her shelter roof, food, warmth. That's what Scripture says. Ain't it feed the hungry, clothe the naked, shelter the stranger? Morrison's face reddened. Scripture commands love. Jesse interrupted. Decency, compassion. This town watched Martha sit on that bench and did nothing. Didn't offer help. Didn't offer a room. Didn't even offer a kind word. Just watched. So don't stand there and preach to me about morality when you let a woman near freeze, 'cause it was. Inconvenient. How dare you? I dare because I'm tired of hypocrites. Jesse's voice rang out. You judge her, judge me. I gave her my cabin, my food, my protection. If that's a sin, then send me to hell. But she stays. Martha stepped beside him, found her voice. I'm not ashamed. My daughter abandoned me. This man gave me family. If you can't see the holiness in that, then you're the ones needing salvation, not us. Silence. Heavy, shocked silence. Then, from the back, an old widow stood, Mrs. Peterson, whose children hadn't visited in 5 years. My family don't visit neither, but I'm still here, and if I was freezing, I'd hope to God someone like Jesse would help. A rancher stood. Known Jesse 20 years, honest as they come. If he says it's right, it's right. Another woman. We should be ashamed, not them. The tide was turning. Faces that had been hard softened. Morrison looked around. Authority crumbling. Jesse turned to Martha. In front of 50 witnesses, he dropped to one knee. Martha Henley, will you marry me? Build a life with me. Let me love you proper. In the eyes of God and these people, tears streamed down Martha's face. Yes, God. Yes. The church erupted, half cheering, half still grumbling. But the choice was made, the stand taken. Morrison had no choice. Fine, I'll perform the ceremony. But there will be conditions. We'll find someone else, Jesse said flatly. Someone who don't make love sound like punishment. They walked out together, hand in hand, into the cold, bright day. Behind them, the town divided, some angry, some moved, all of them witnesses. And Jesse and Martha didn't care. They had each other. That was enough. Spring came to Montana like a blessing. Snow melted. Wildflowers exploded across the meadow. Their cabin now stood surrounded by color, the air warm and sweet. Martha wore a simple white dress, wildflowers woven into her hair. Jesse had trimmed his beard, wore his cleanest shirt. They stood in front of the cabin. 30 neighbors gathered around. Elder Thomas from the neighboring town, a kind man with soft eyes, performed the ceremony. Do you, Jesse McCallum, take this woman? I do. Jesse said before Thomas finished. I surely do. Martha laughed, tears spilling over. Let him finish, do you? Martha Henley. I do, she interrupted. I absolutely do. More laughter. Thomas smiled and shook his head. Then by the power, just kiss her already. Someone shouted. Jesse did. Long and deep and proper, wife to husband, husband to wife. The crowd cheered. Even Hendricks from the trading post had come, bringing smoked ham as a grudging peace offering. Tables were laid out, food, drink, fiddle music. The community that had judged now celebrated. Not all of them Morrison stayed away, a few others too. But enough. More than enough. That afternoon, after the guests left, Jesse and Martha planted their garden together. They worked side by side, kneeling in the rich soil. Martha pulled Sarah's last letter from her apron pocket, the cold, transactional one. She folded it carefully and buried it beneath a rose bush. Something beautiful might grow from it, she said softly. Jessie covered her hand with his. Already has. They planted tomatoes, beans, squash, herbs. Each seed a promise, a future, a choice to build instead of mourn. As the sun set, they sat on the porch Jessie had built during winter, when he first let himself hope. Martha's head rested on his shoulder. His arm circled her waist. Ever regret it? He asked quietly. Stayin'. Martha looked at him, this man who'd saved her. Not with grand gestures, but with daily kindness. Who'd built her a home when she had none. Who'd loved her when she thought she was unlovable. Every morning I wake up, she said. I thank God that wagon left. Led me here. Led me to you. Jessie kissed her temple. We built this, you and me. Log by log. She agreed. Day by day. Inside the cabin, visible through the window, the cradle sat by the fire. Jessie had finished it over winter sanded smooth, oiled to a soft glow. It held knitting now, and seeds for next year's planting, and the small wooden bird he'd carved her for Christmas. Symbols of hope, promise, future. They sat together as stars emerged, watching night settle over their land. Two people who'd been abandoned, who'd been lost, who'd found each other in the margins and built something true. Family wasn't blood. It was who stayed when the cold came, who built with you when the world said run, who chose you, over and over, through storm and doubt and dailiness. Jessie and Martha had chosen each other, and that love built through hardship and healing was the kind that lasted, the kind worth telling.